What do you think we're struggling with in society when it comes to exercise? Like, why do we have this obesity epidemic? Why do we have this diabetes epidemic?
I like to flip it and just say to people, why isn't everybody obese and why doesn't everybody have diabetes? Because we live in a world over the last several hundred years where physical work has been replaced by uh, automation, and the energy we burn and the oxygen we consume has been replaced by other forms of energy, most notably fossil fuels, starting with the industrial revolution. And if you look at the data about how much physical activity is required per day to stop people from gaining weight, if people use about 600 calories a day, which would be the equivalent of walking or running 6 miles, they're unlikely to have a whole lot of weight gain as they get older, right? But we've made it impossible for people to have very, very little physical activity during the day. Food has become extremely plentiful and cheap, and it's also been almost engineered with combinations of salt, fat, and sugar and spices to really stimulate us to eat a lot of it. So if you look at throughout the animal kingdom, if you go out on a farm and there are not fat dogs because they're out running around and chasing this and chasing that.
Mm.
But if you look at dogs who live in a house and don't get much exercise and eat a lot, they get big. And so that's what's happened. We have a high calorie, low physical activity environment, and we're all very good at storing calories. And that was probably, at least the theory is that gave people a survival advantage many hundreds and thousands of years ago when the food supply or our ability to get enough to eat was maybe up and down a little bit. And there's been this theory of the thrifty gene hypothesis that there were certain groups of people that were able to put on weight quickly when there was a surplus of food around, so they would be ready to go during a periodic famine or inadequate food supply. But it probably turns out all humans have thrifty genes.
Wow. What do you think about people who say, my genetic makeup, it just doesn't allow me to lose weight?
Right. Well, I think there's some really interesting studies by Professor Nick Christakis at Yale, a really interesting medical sociologist. And Nick looked at some of the gene variants that have been associated with obesity. And he looked at cohorts of people born in different times. And basically, the genes associated with the genetic variants associated with obesity only show up as having a major effect in people born after World War II.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, so people that were born earlier, when we had a high physical activity, less food available society,
Hmm.
were protected were protected against obesity by the simple fact that they were physically active and didn't have too much to eat. Now, that's been looked at again through something called the UK Biobank, where about 500,000 people in the United Kingdom have donated blood so they can have their genes measured. But they've also done extensive questionnaire work to figure out what these people are doing, in the rest of their life. And people who are physically active or who do a lot of active commuting, ride their bike to and from work, again, the effect of gene variants that are usually worth 1 or 2 units of basal metabolic, or excuse me, body mass index. Uh, the effect sizes go way down among people who do active transportation. So I think what I would say to people who say my genes don't let me do this or do that, I would say it's the environment that just makes it very challenging to stop from getting big in the first place, but also then to lose weight once people decide to go on a diet or become more active. So again, I'm more surprised that not everybody is large.